Good morning. I want to talk about what it's like when you go out in the world for the Lord. Yesterday, I had to go and get some things done. I had to get the car washed. I hadn't been washed in over a month. It was getting a little unkept. And you never know when you're full of the Spirit of the Lord what God's going to do at any second. Because they say being president is a 24-hour job. You're never not president. And when you're a believer, it is a 24-hour job. You don't have to stress about it, worry about it. The president has Secret Service, and so do you. The angels of the Lord are encamped around about you. The people can't see the angels, but you know they're there. You can't see them either, but you trust God. I got your back. I've got your side. I've got your front. I got above you. I got below you. And the Holy Spirit within you. And you go and you trust that. You go straight, you may go left, you may go right, you may stop, you may go forward. God is all around, no matter which direction you go. But if you're trusting the Spirit, you may be surprised about what turns you make, which direction you go, because you're sensitive to the Spirit. And it's a quiet leading. And at any moment, you might experience what God wants you to do, who He brings in front of you. Yesterday, it was a retired worker, a man who had been through the fire while he was drying his car with a hat on his head that said warrior. He seemed to walk a little strange, oddly, with some difficulty, but he was walking and washing and drying his car because he could. Because when I approached him, I saw his hat and I said, warrior. I said, warrior for God? And he goes, it's my son's hat for our team. But yes, I'm a warrior for God. He goes, let me tell you my testimony. We overcome by the words of our testimony. He's a Hispanic man. And I listened to him. And my heart jumped with glee. I had to hug the man. He had had a stroke years ago. They expected him to die. He never thought he would walk. They didn't believe he was ever going to walk. He's driving. He lost the complete right side of his brain. And I'm having a conversation with him. And he's moving, he's walking, he's testifying, and he's speaking with power. Power. He had power when he spoke. A man who lost the right side of his brain. Intelligent and more articulate than those who have both sides of their brain. It was an amazing experience. And the Lord gave me great joy to talk with this man. And it was such a joy. Let's get together again. I said, why not later today? He goes, okay, later today. Tell me where to be. I had to take care of a few more things. I went to the post office and there was a problem there. And something needed to be corrected and rectified, and it didn't look like it was going to be corrected. And the Lord led me to just hang around until the supervisor showed up, and that was going to be 2 hours later. But in those 2 hours, the Lord led me down a particular path in a particular spot in a parking lot. And here comes another ministry. It might be in a parking lot. It might be on the side of a road. It might be at a gas station. And now you're ministering to someone else out of the clear blue. Someone who you hadn't planned to talk to, they hadn't planned to talk to you. But you can see in the conversation, if you look at your life, this is odd. This is a revelational meeting. I had a vision a few days ago that I was going to meet someone with a certain name, and I thought it was a friend who I haven't seen because it was his name. I says, I'm going to meet him again. I'm going to meet him very soon, the Lord said. While at the gas station, waiting for the gas to fill the tank, there was a worker, an engineer. This is only after the fact that I know it's an engineer. Obviously, I didn't know before. But to some degree, I could probably have determined that even knowing the activity that was going on. It was typical of someone in construction or civil engineering. And I walked over and asked him about what was this instrument he had and what was he doing. I do that a lot. I like to learn things that I don't know. People that have a different profession, I like to ask. Truck drivers, it doesn't matter what they're doing. Landscaper, it doesn't matter who they are. I have a interest in understanding the world around me and people that know something I don't know and how they're doing. And I'm interested in all aspects of how our world runs and the things that people do. I started to talk to the person. And then in the course of the conversation, it became apparent to me that this was planned by God, particularly with all of the details of where the person was from, what the person was doing and why they were working here in this city and in our state and they're not from here. Their struggle, their interest. It was a fantastic meeting. And when the meeting concluded, the discussion, it's going to take a while to get the gas in the car. I said, what's your name? And it was the name of my friend who I hadn't seen in a few years, who I said the other day, God's telling me I'm going to see. I didn't say my friend, but I said his name. And the man had the name of my friend. That's not the catch quite yet. That's not all of it. Listen to this. It was the man with the name of the friend I hadn't seen in a few years, who I was thinking, oh, that's what that meant. I'm going to see that specific friend. In fact, I don't have another friend with that friend's name. And where did I meet this man with my friend's name, who I hadn't seen in a few years? Down the street from where the friend who I have not seen in several years, down the street from his house at the gas station, that was in his neighborhood. And the man I am talking to is that friend's name. Only God could have done that. I'm not done yet. And he almost looks identical to the friend I thought I was going to see, who I hadn't seen in 2 years. Only God. Only God. Then I went to pick up some items at the store. At the store. And in the store, Trader Joe's, for those of you who are Californians and know the store. Although I think they're in other parts of the West. Hadn't been in this store, this particular store, in a while, probably a year or more. And as I'm looking for the items, ministry. One man who's only been here for 6 years, from Ghana, Africa. Had never been anywhere else in America but just Orange County. When I was finished with that conversation, he goes, I need to go other places and learn this country. Thank you for your words. I walk to go towards the register. And there's a woman there who I hadn't seen in probably 4 to 5 years. And what a blessing in the interaction. The manager's standing. It's another woman in line. And in that short period, people's lives were changing. Changing. Not just the people that I'm talking to, but the people that are listening. And joy and laughter. One woman was so excited about what she was hearing, she just bursted out with a glee of joy and laughter. You never know what God is going to do. Before I had walked in this store, in the parking lot, it was near the home of another friend. In fact, a friend that I had lived with for a while. And I said, I haven't heard from them. Let me call. Not text, not email, call. And I called. They were in the hospital at the time of my call, getting treatment for cancer. Your timing is perfect. I did not even know. I asked them to tell me the cancer. What was the issue? What type? What were the symptoms? What was the therapy like? What is it expected to achieve? Now, when I was talking to them, again in hindsight, yes, again, at the moment I didn't know where they were. It appeared from the way she was talking, they were just doing things at home and doing whatever they had to do at home. I didn't understand that they were not at home. I assumed that they were. She picked up the phone quickly. I didn't hear any background noise. I thought she was at home taking care of her husband. And then all of a sudden, after she was telling me what had been going on, I told her I didn't know the full breadth of what was going on. She goes, oh, well, I better go now because there's other people here. She's in a room with other people. She wanted to be respectful. I said, oh, I assumed that you were at home. I didn't understand. Oh, She goes, no, 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 we're actually doing the treatment right now in the facility. I said, you'll be in my prayers. So while I'm at this store, I see flowers. It's kind of normal to buy flowers for women, but I wanted to buy flowers for her husband. And I said, Father, I want to buy some flowers. Their house is not too far from this store. So I bought the flowers, and I thought of her as well because she's taking care of her husband. Her mother is ill. She's taking care of her mother. She's caring for the people she loves, and she's doing it with joy. And Papa said, get the flowers. I got the flowers. I pulled up to the house. It appeared to be, well, like something was going on. Either somebody was moving out of the house or some construction was going on. I didn't understand all of the trucks that were around and tape. And I realized, oh, their house is being renovated and they're still living here. So I didn't understand the breadth of what was going on. So I took the flowers, I set them at the front door. I could hear people working in the house. I didn't know, did they move out? What's happening? She didn't tell me that they moved out. I just assumed that they were still in the house. I took a picture, laid them at the front of the door, and I sent them to her on the phone. Because I assumed they were coming back to the house. I guess they had been temporarily not living at the house while the house was being renovated. And I guess when she was in hospital, she saw the picture. I wanted to let her know. I didn't actually want to do that because I wanted them to be surprised. But because I didn't understand, are they still living here? I sent the picture so that she would know in case she wasn't still living there. They're temporarily living in some other place while the house is being renovated. So she would know to swing by and get her flowers. And who knew that would make all the difference in that day. She sent me a text. The text was full of tears and joy. Sometimes you make the drive so people know that you're thinking of them, especially the people that you know and love. I would do that for a stranger. How much more should I do for a friend? Remember that. I had to get an oil change on the car. They said it was going to take 45 minutes. So there was a store I hadn't been to in years. It's in a neighborhood where I used to live. I said, I'm going to walk over to the store. And that's when a whole nother level of life-changing event would occur. In a store I hadn't planned to walk to, two young women behind the counter working at the juice bar, a manager, a homeless man, a young construction worker with his worker that he's hired had just been fired from his father's company. Ministry. Endless, limitless ministry. People who receive in the smallest conversation that leads down, no, not a rabbit hole, that leads up to a revelational interaction, something that changes the life of the person in that moment. and couldn't wait to meet again. Questions of faith, learning, wanting to see, wanting to understand. Not in a church, not in a Bible study, not in a religious tent meeting, a stadium, in life. Walking that faith in life. And you being willing and available. But God wasn't done yet. Because I would meet up with the man who had suffered a stroke. Later in the afternoon, he would drive all the way down to my city. Ministry. When he was done, I had to meet with another friend who I hadn't seen in years. Ministry. And while waiting to meet with him, a woman who is looking to leave California, African-American woman, deciding on who she's going to live with, her daughter or her son. They live in two different parts of the country. Ministry. Life-changing interaction. Not planned by me. Just be willing and be ready, open and humble. Not because of you, because of God. My friend shows up eventually. But before he does, wait, there's more. Now I'm in a store. Two men behind the counter. One's unmarried, one's married. Ministry again. Ministry. Walk out of that store. Walk into a little cafe. See what they have to drink. Interaction with the workers. Two young women. Ministry. It never ends. It just happens. The friend does show up. And we embraced and laughed and hugged and talked and were so happy to see one another. Now let's go find something to eat, because he likes Mediterranean food. Wow. So as we do, there's two police officers standing outside the cafe talking. I said, let's go talk to them. Bless them, encourage them. Those are men of God. Men that go out to enforce law, to do justice, to save people, to help people, to watch people, to help to keep things in line. Let's bless them. Amazing what happened there. Amazing. Amazing. Too long to go into in this particular conversation right now. But it was wonderful because my friend hadn't seen me in years, to see God in action, working in the interactions. Life-changing. Then we went on to eat. Place that I know he likes. I took him there once. I believe he hadn't been there since. But he wanted to go back. And just in the store, before we get our items to eat outside the store, the table, you can already see, if you have the eye, God working and something brewing. Something brewed, all right, and it would appear to be negative. But God took that negative action and it caused him to see something he had been struggling with the last few days. I had no idea, but I had the wisdom to see that it was difficult for him. The Lord said, be patient. I just stayed calm and let him work it out. We had a conversation. Tears welled in his eyes, and I told him, I said, don't beat up on yourself. Don't beat up on yourself. Some battles we lose, some we win. But don't beat up on yourself. Recognize and see how we could do it differently next time. What could be the different approach? The devil will try to discourage you. Even when God is rebuking you, the devil will try to discourage you, to take it the wrong way. And I told him, I said, you know one thing, when people really love you, you don't drop the ball. You take it because you know they love you. They're not going anywhere. They love you enough to spend their life getting to know you and putting up with you. That's the friend you want. Someone who can see you at your worst and still keep loving you. And you keep loving yourself. Else, you're using an opportunity of difficulty to let the devil win and turn you. Says that's not love. Now you have to question, do you have love? What if God did that to you? Is that what you do to people the moment you have a difficult moment, a difficult conversation? You start to quit? And I said, you would be in no position to get married. For better or for worse. Every time the worst happens, you get an attitude and leave. Lo and behold, what does the friend tell me? I had good news for you. I said, oh, by the way, what was that good news? He goes, I'm getting married. He goes, and this has been a very good thing to learn. I said, you're going to lead a woman. You've got to learn how to control your emotions. You don't want to be the type of person that leaves so quickly. Even in your anger, maintain your commitment. You have a covenant. You don't let your emotions make you break it. Who knew? There was a couple of more interactions, some I cannot tell you about. I will say this. I do love my Korean brothers and what their community represents. That too was a special meeting. Be willing, be humble. Stay on the path and don't be so readily prepared to quit. The race is not given to people that quit. You will never win the race that way. Stay on the path and do what God's called you to do.